Hello and welcome back to the channel, JI Colourist. Today we are going to test out some triple thick and how it responds to different type of mediums that you would want to cover over. Now, I have been using triple thick for a while, but I have been worried about putting it over top of anything that is water soluble. So I tend to use a lot of water soluble items, and before I get too much further along, let me explain what I'm doing. So this is just a sketchbook. It has a regular sketchbook type paper, so it's not water soluble paper. It's a little bit thicker, so it's kind of like Maria Troll book paper or a Hannah Carlson paper. So that would be perfect for my test. I have gone and used a circle and made a bunch of different things. I'm going to test all of these items to see how they respond to me putting on DecoArt's Americana's Triple Thick. It's a brilliant brush on gloss glaze, and it says to use an acrylic brush to apply multiple coats for additional protected or textured on porous surfaces. It's acid-free, water-based, and permanent. And so what you do is you put it on top to make things look glossy. So kind of like to make anything similar to how you would use glossy accents. I am going to use a silicone tipped tool to move stuff around instead of a brush, because I don't really want to wreck any of my brushes. So what we are going to test today, I will zoom you down a little bit, and as I am coating each one, I'll talk about the items, each medium that I'm testing. Okay, it has a flip top cap, which you can just squeeze down. So let me lower the camera. So here we are. Up at the top of the page, we have Stabilo 68 water-based fine liners. And I have drawn a few balloons because I want to see how, if the triple thick is going to make anything bleed out or run. Okay. So I'm not really caring if I've got any bubbles or anything, but there aren't. Triple thick is a little bit easier to apply than, say, your glossy accents, because it comes out a little bit faster. I do see a little bit of the green ghosting around a bit, so we'll see how that dries down. The next one is Albert Durr watercolor pencils, and these have been activated because that's how I would use them in a coloring book. So I'm going to see if it does anything. Okay. The next item is a Faber-Castell Pitt pens. It's a pigment ink. So we'll see how this works. And this will allow me to use this glossy accents or this triple thick in my coloring books with a little bit more confidence, because I'll know how it reacts. Okay, the next one is a Staedtler pigment brush pen, and this is also pigment ink, so that's why I have it on the same line as the Pitt pens. Okay, we'll wait for this to dry and I'll come back. This is Jelly Roll Metallic. And I want to see if you can see any of the metallic after it's dried, or if it just loses that metallic sheen. And if there's anything that I haven't tested that you want to see tested after you see all of the items I've picked, let me know. This is Derwent Inktense. I'm going to test it both activated and non-activated. And that's because sometimes if you don't have the Derwent Inktense fully activated, when you have water near it, it reactivates. So it is permanent when it is fully activated, but again, if it's not, it will. So we'll see how these two compare. Then I have the Kuretake Zig Clean Color Water-Based Brush Marker. Now these aren't all of my items that I do have. I was thinking about Graphitint and that kind of thing, but I think if I know how it works for, say, the Albert Durr watercolor pencils, then I should be able to assume it would react the same to some of my other water-based pencils. Okay, scrolling down to the bottom of the page, we have Neocolor 1s, and this is unblended, and this is just crayon. It's a wax pastel. Then I have Neocolor 2, both activated and non-activated. And the last item on here is Holbein colored pencil. I have just a small 12 set of Holbein pencils, but if this should also be the same way it reacts with, say, my Polychromos or Artex pencils. So I just wanted at least one colored pencil on there. I do know that colored pencil is safe to use under this, but I'm just kind of using it as a final example. Let me zoom you back out. Here are all of the samples. We will wait for this to dry, and I will come back and we'll take a look at how the Triple Thick by DecoArt reacted to all of these samples. See you in a couple hours. Okay, we are back, and it has been a full 24 hours that I have left the book open, and let's take a look at our results. Okay, so everything has dried, and it is all shiny. As you can see, they're well coated. This is the back of the page, and it does kind of warp the page a little bit, so I do like to keep it to smaller sizes. Like this is as a fine size to use, but if you had I wouldn't do like a whole half page or something unless it was a single-sided book. But let's take a closer look. In fact, I'll just zoom you down. So this one here, this Stabilo 68 water-based fine liner, seems to have feathered a bit, and I think it had also feathered a bit on the actual paper. This is kind of a thirsty paper, and it did spread a little bit, but I do think that it spread even more, especially that yellow one in the center, and the blue and the green. So I do think that there was some spreading, so I think that I will refrain from using water-based fine liners, at least the Stabilo brand, when I plan on using the Triple Thick. Scrolling over the Albert Durr watercolor pencil, these were activated and they seem to do just fine. No problems there. They did not seem to mix anymore. I'll zoom you out a little bit so you can see that. We've got the Faber-Castell Pit Artist pens, and I had drawn and I had purposely done different colors inside the leaves so that there would be, if there was going to bleed, we would see that, and it held up really well. No problems there, as well as the Staedtler pigment brush pen. No problem there, no bleeding out. So I would say that the pigment pens are permanent and they don't seem to reactivate. The Jelly Roll Metallic, if you stare at it long enough, you do see that there's some metallic there, but it does lose some of that, and I think that's because the shine of the actual Triple Thick also kind of covers the metallic. So using a metallic Jelly Roll or metallic gel pen underneath, you are probably going to lose some of that metallic sparkles. So you may want to save your good gel pens and use a cheaper brand underneath the Triple Thick because you're not going to get the same amount of shine. Now going to the next row, we've got the Derwent Inktense, both activated and not activated. And I did not see any difference. It did not seem to move. These ones, it did not seem to make them active. So happy with that, and that was a bit of a surprise for me. The next ones were the Kuretake Zig Clean Color water-based pens and also the Eco-Line brush pens. So these are the closest to, I would say, the Stabilo water-based fine liners, and they did seem to activate and bleed a little bit. Now that was part of the paper itself, but I do think that it enhanced it with the Triple Thick. So I do not think that water-based brush markers are a good item to use underneath the Triple Thick. And that's because the Triple Thick takes, it's a liquid and it takes a long time to dry. And I think it's just long enough that it activates what is underneath. Now the next line is our Neocolor 1 and Neocolor 2. I did Neocolor 1 because I do like to use crayons once in a while, and I thought that it was a good test of the crayons. They seemed fine. The Neocolor 2s, both activated and non-activated, also seemed fine. So that was a really good result, and I was happy to see that. And then this is the Holbein pencil, and I didn't expect any change on this, and I was not disappointed. So I am fine using any kind of pencil underneath these. Now I did not try my Derwent Graphitint, but because I thought they would probably be the same as like the Albert Dur or the Neocolor 2, because they are both activated with water, and so I didn't test those, and I'm happy with the results. I'm glad I did the test, because just to make sure that I know which mediums to use and which ones I should maybe refrain from using or use in a limited fashion on a page when I'm going to be using Triple Thick. And yeah, so the results were encouraging, and I'm happy to continue to use the DecoArt Triple Thick. I also use the Glossy Accents by Ranger, and I have it in a separate 18 gauge needle type applicator just so I can get precision. I use the Glossy Accents for small items like eyes and stuff on a page or small highlights. I use the Triple Thick for larger areas. It is a little bit easier to manage brushing it on, and also there don't seem to be as many bubbles in it. So like there is a bubble here, and I could have taken a little bit extra time and tried to get everything out, but without really doing anything other than what you saw when I applied it, they all look pretty good. So it definitely is a little bit easier to apply the DecoArt Triple Thick, at least for me. And I just wanted to do this test and let you know my results. I hope you have a colorful and creative day. I hope you found this somewhat useful in your own coloring journey. If you have any other requests on what you would like me to see me test, or if you've got results differently than I have, by all means, please let us know in the comments below. We're all fellow colorists here, and sharing knowledge is a good way to keep the community going. So thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, I hope you're having a creative and colorful day. All right, take care, my friends. Bye-bye.